Massive blasts shook Gaza's city early on Tuesday morning amid the ongoing conflict between Hamas and Israel. The targets are yet to be confirmed, but the Israeli military say they're aiming at Hamas militant infrastructure and have already destroyed tunnels and the homes of 9 Hamas commanders. The US has repeatedly backed Israel's right to defend itself against an unprecedented barrage of rockets launched from Gaza. But in a call to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, President Biden encouraged Israel to make every effort to ensure the protection of innocent civilians. But Washington once again blocked a joint statement from the United Nations Security Council expressing grave concern over the intensifying conflict. As the bombardments in Gaza continue, more and more Palestinians are being made homeless. With no access to water, electricity or basic services, some have found refuge in schools run by the United Nations.
We're totally lost. No one imagined that we would leave our homes alive. We imagined that we would die that night.
Residents of the southern Israeli city of Ashdod are also in the firing line, but from Palestinian militant rockets.
I live here in this house. There was a siren and we went down one floor to take shelter. My mum is disabled, but she was able to get shelter and that's what saved her.
The US says it's working behind the scenes to secure a peace deal, but those efforts and ceasefire mediation by Egypt and others have so far shown no signs of progress.
Well, Haitham Amira Fernandez is a senior analyst on the Mediterranean and the Arab world at the Elcano Royal Institute, and he joins us now from Madrid. Thanks very much for coming on to Good Morning Europe.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. What is perpetuating the current wave of violence, and what is each side hoping to achieve?
Well, what we've been witnessing for the past 2 weeks is the latest incident in what we've been seeing for decades. There is a situation that needs to be solved, and that is the occupation. And there are policies that are pursued by the state of Israel trying to de-Palestinize the territories it controls, starting with Jerusalem. That's how the latest round of violence started. That was the spark. So through colonization, settlement, building and transfer of populations, and different legal treatment, both to Israeli citizens of Arab origin, that is the Palestinians that stayed in what is recognized as the State of Israel today, and also those Palestinians that are in the occupied territories. And the interesting thing about the latest round of violence is that there has been solidarity between Palestinians, both inside and outside Israel, and there has been calls, and they are actually asking for a different way of being treated, both by the State of Israel and the international community.
What can the international community do, and particularly the United States, but also powers in the Middle East?
Well, the answer is simple. There's a situation of occupation that is at the heart of what has been happening for over half a century. And that is what is provoking Israel to face a trilemma that it has not solved yet, and that is creating so much tension and reactions and resistance. And the trilemma is that Israel cannot be at the same time the three following things: a Jewish state, a democratic state, and to have a domination over all the territories and the population living in them, meaning the Palestinian territories. As long as that trilemma is not solved and Israel has not chosen 2 out of those 3 elements, all the tensions and the conflict will continue to exist. So occupation is at the heart of this problem, and it is affecting the nature of what type of state Israel is and what type of relation it has with its immediate neighbors and with the neighborhood at large, but also among Israeli citizens, being the Jews and non-Jewish Israeli citizens. And that is what we're seeing in this latest round of violence: clashes and demonstrations and mobs, attacks and lynching among Israeli citizens because of their different communities they belong to.
And you say that Israel faces this trilemma, but can it just carry on as it is? Because under Netanyahu, it shows no sign of changing.
Well, Netanyahu has been supporting the most right and far right groups within the Israeli society and political system, settlers and ultra Orthodox or right-wing movements, with the passage of the Jewish national state law in the Knesset in 2018, and other settlement policies and promises of annexation of Palestinian territories. So by insisting on Jewish domination and ethno-religious domination of not only Israel, but also the territories it controls and dominates, the occupied territories, that is generating more conflicts and contradictions. And that is also affecting Israel's international image. And that is, yes, it can last for longer time with international support, with the lack of condemnation. But the contradictions will grow and the resistance will grow. We have seen now, and we have seen also for the past years, that a resistance cannot be crushed. Hamas cannot be crushed.